What happens when a league doubles down, not just on the court, but on every court? What's up, y'all? I'm Derek, the marketing point guard, and today we're talking about the WNBA's insane growth recently. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you like the content. If you don't, let me know as well, because we're always trying to get better on this side. Let's get into it. So for a long time, the WNBA was the laughingstock of professional sports. They were losing money in droves. Their jerseys essentially became billboards. They were struggling, but they were able to flip the script. Now, the lazy answer is to give all the credit to Caitlin Clark. But the truth is, the foundation was laid years in advance, and this is built on top of a strong marketing strategy that allowed them to take advantage when the opportunity arose. Let's break it down a little bit further. So Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, she had been adamant that the WNBA is a growth stock league, meaning that once they get the necessary investment, they are primed for growth. And she's been able to walk that out during her run. The key part to it was the added investment, specifically in infrastructure. Again, this is one of those times where if you want to be treated as a pro, you have to build that infrastructure from the ground up. Now, the first real shining example of this was the Aces. When the Davis family took over the Las Vegas Aces organization, they put in significant investment, bringing the team to Las Vegas, giving them their own training facility. They had been struggling for years, and the result of that is they got great picks like Asia Wilson, and then you add that with the infrastructure, and now they are a perennial championship contender, and that's no coincidence, right? Like, you need that infrastructure, you need that investment to really allow your product to shine. And you've seen other franchises come in or other ownership groups come in and kind of steal that model. You see what's going on in Brooklyn with the New York Liberty. They just coming off their first championship as one of the original franchises in the league. That's not a coincidence, right? They, under the previous ownership, they've been shipped to Westchester and kind of left for dead. And this new ownership group comes in, brings them to Barclays Center, invests in them, builds out the talent. You know, they have them flying charter and just increasing the professionalism and the experience. And now they're building a new waterfront property in Greenpoint. You know, these things don't happen by accident. It takes real investment. It takes that real commitment to start to see the product turn around. As you start to see the game grow and see this added investment, right, the knee-jerk reaction expand quickly. And that was actually the fault of the WNBA up front. You know, they started off too quick, grew too big, and they didn't quite have the financials to sustain that model without the NBA keeping it on life support. So this time around, you know, the league had shrunk to, I believe, 12 at one point, and now they're in the process of expanding back out, sound business practices and new model in place, and they're being very strategic and very intentional about where they go. This year, the Golden State Valkyries are in their inaugural season in the Bay Area, and that has been a huge success. I mean, every game they're breaking attendance records. They're not playing in practice facilities or, you know, G League equivalents. They're playing at Chase Center and selling it out. And that's important, to choose a market that's energized, that has the economic means to support and build this franchise as its own, and not just as this like kind of subset of what the NBA team. That's important. You know, the next expansion team is popping up in Toronto, their first international, and they have an ownership team that includes Serena Williams. So again, just being very intentional about where you go, how you do it, and when you do it, and not going too fast. They have this moment, they have this energy, and they're expanding in a way that is important to growing the feel of the game without compromising the talent. And speaking of that talent, right, the biggest advantage that the WNBA has right now in the landscape, in the basketball landscape, is the NCAA funnel. Now, we can go off on a tangent to talk about all the problems that is with the NCAA, but for the women's game and the way that their CBA is set up, having it be mandatory for players to spend 4 years after high school has allowed them to build their brands through the NCAA. And that has been invaluable for the WNBA, right? Because you get that time to see who's coming, who has the star power, right? And now with NIL deals in place, these players are able to even further build their star power while in college. This past postseason, during the Final Four run, every commercial break was either Cooper Flag on the men's side, Paige, or Juju, you know, and that's to have two of the three biggest stars in college basketball be on the women's side. It's huge for the WNBA because you get that brand familiarity, you get that retention, and just get that constant exposure so that now we become connected to these players as they go through their journeys, their highs and lows. They develop a story arc and a narrative that we can attach to ourselves to as either fans of or haters of, for lack of a better term. And, you know, that's what we got with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. We saw them battle in the tournament back-to-back years. There's a true defining moment, you know, in that championship game with LSU versus Iowa. And, you know, that moment has permeated for the rest of their careers, right? It followed them the next seasons, followed them into the draft. Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever is still a huge draw for the WNBA ratings-wise and just attention-wise. And, you know, the WNBA kind of caught their Larry and Magic moment, which is great. And then coming off of that, you know, we have Paige Beckers coming into the league on a high. And then once Juju comes, she's probably going to be Jordan, right? Like, so you have this great feeder system that almost allows you to stress test your stars, right? See who makes it, see who's marketable, see who people gravitate towards and resonate with. And then they bring all those fans from, you know, frankly, these big schools like UConn and USC, they're bringing that fandom straight to the WNBA. And that is paramount, and that is an advantage that the NBA has frankly lost once they went to the one and done rule. So you're getting fully formed stars, fully developed players coming into your league and competing at a high level from day one. And this isn't just like an emotional feeling, right? This is tangible metrics. The WNBA had a 21% viewership boost last season. Ticket sales were through the roof. You know, Caitlin Clark is coming in and she's not playing in the small venues. Everybody has to upgrade to larger venues to accommodate all the attention and fanfare that she's bringing. So this is a real tangible metrics from the star power that they have built before they even get to the WNBA. It just really shows the importance of building that brand. And that's why I just loved what the WNBA did last week with their Line 'em Up Park initiative. I think that is genius, right? Like when you're faced with growth, the natural instinct is to go higher, go further, go farther. But they actually went deeper. They decided to double down on their grassroots effort and spark fandom where the game lives, where the game breathes, where passions are born, you know, where we all fell in love with the game, or people who play it fell in love with the game. And that's outside on the courts. Right now, the high school line keeps moving. The NBA line is the NBA line. College line is different. But most basketball courts do not have the WNBA three-point line on. So for them to take the initiative to go to parks, you know, starting in some big cities, but eventually the plan is to get everywhere and paint their three-point line in their iconic orange colorway, it's going to stand out. It's going to be a conversation piece. You know, once kids start to line up at these parks and go to play, you're gonna have little girls play and feel seen and feel represented and feel like they have the opportunity to see themselves in a space where they haven't before. And that's monumental, right? That's something that they will remember forever. And whether they go on to become professional athletes or even play at a high level, that's how you spark a fan for life. And all the corporate mechanizations, right, and the brand building and the expansion and trying to get your viewers up and getting your corporate sponsors in place, like that's all great for the bottom line. But this whole thing is propped up on fans. It's on fans going to buy tickets. It's fans who are buying jerseys, fans who are following on social media, that engagement. So if you're not investing in building the future fan, you're going to lose, right? And that is what people tend to lose sight of as they chase the money plays, is that this fan building is the key to this whole thing. You know, that's why when I worked on on the team side, some of my favorite moments were when we got to build that fandom, connect with people, because those are the moments that people remember for life. And you don't ever want to take those for granted, and you want to invest in that in a real way. And that's why what the NBA did was masterful. And I'm excited to see that kind of play out and how they continue to grow that piece of the business. So, hopefully you understand, like these things don't happen overnight, right? And I never want to underestimate the value that somebody like a Caitlin Clark can bring to a league, especially in a sport like basketball where one player can have such impact. But again, it is on these leagues, these brands, these entities to capitalize on these moments when they present themselves. And I think that's where the WNBA and their leadership brass just deserve a lot of credit, for elevating not just one player, but the entire system, the entire brand, the entire operation. And I think another good thing working for them is they got some competition, right? Unrivaled came into the game, did some amazing things. From an infrastructure, from a salary standpoint, their broadcast and partnerships that they were able to launch with were impressive, and it's going to put some pressure on them as they enter their next CBA, and salaries are always going to be a big conversation topic between the players and the leagues and where those land. But again, that competition and that energy around the sport as a whole is just only going to help them create better products and continue to elevate the game. So I'm excited to see what the WNBA continues to cook up and how they leverage these moments and these opportunities. But there's no denying that they are in an excellent position to continue their upward trajectory and continue to excel. So let me know what y'all think. Was all these moves smart moves for the WNBA, or is this just all the result of a star player and their ability to kind of just lean to that moment? Made this to be a channel in the community where we discuss these things in real time, as much as I'm relaying my expertise and my background and to the points that I'm making. I don't always think I'm right, so I would love to hear what you guys think. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Catch y'all in the next video. Peace.